When historians describe the year 1906 in San Francisco, they focus on the catastrophe above ground, the violent earthquake that struck at 5:12 a.m., the fires that consumed the city for 3 days, the devastation that left over 400 blocks in ruins. But the real story, the one that barely appeared in reconstruction reports, the one that even today sits buried in municipal footnotes, began below the surface. It started with a massive cleanup operation. Engineers were instructed to clear debris across the ruined city, remove rubble from collapsed buildings, and prepare the ground for San Francisco's ambitious reconstruction. As the nation watched the city rise from ashes, the goal was practical: stabilize the terrain, assess the damage, and determine whether the land could support the weight of a rebuilt metropolis. But the moment workers began digging through the destruction, something unexpected happened. They broke through layers that hadn't been exposed in decades. Beneath the rubble of 1906, deeper than anyone anticipated, the crews found tunnels and chambers that didn't match any known infrastructure. Their scale was immense, their construction was unusual, and the stonework didn't resemble anything in San Francisco's documented history. It didn't even resemble the Victorian-era construction that had supposedly defined the city. This wasn't mentioned in public reconstruction reports. It didn't make it into the newspapers covering the rebuilding effort. But in the internal notes of that year, a quiet phrase appears over and over again. Pre-existing tunnels, unexpected depth, origin unknown. The official story would later simplify all of this into old sewer lines, forgotten mining tunnels, or simply misidentified earthquake damage. Nothing unusual, nothing worth discussion. But the survey photographs from the time, the ones developed in dim municipal offices while San Francisco rebuilt, show something different. They show workers standing beside brick-lined passages built with precision far superior to anything in the city's official construction records. Tunnels wide enough to drive carriages through, yet absent from every map. Arched corridors fitted together so expertly that even in the grainy quality of early 1900s, photography, the craftsmanship is unmistakable. Drainage systems carved into bedrock that don't appear in any city planning document. And the deeper they dug, the more the layers stopped looking like Victorian infrastructure, and more like infrastructure that had been built over, buried, and deliberately forgotten. At first, the cleanup teams tried to categorize everything in the simplest way possible. Old utility tunnels, abandoned mine shafts, natural fissures opened by the earthquake. But as notes accumulated and more passages were uncovered, the inconsistencies multiplied. Why were some of the tunnels built to a scale far larger than anything San Francisco needed in the 1800s? Why were certain sections lined with bricks so precisely laid that modern engineers still can't explain the technique? Why did some corridors extend beneath areas that were supposedly virgin hillside before American settlement? And the question that troubled even the most traditional city planners: why were these deeper tunnels so elaborate? The reconstruction required precise surveys of ground stability. Yet the subterranean infrastructure beneath parts of downtown North Beach and the financial district appeared built for a city far larger and far older than the San Francisco of public record. Cleanup teams quietly admitted among themselves that the depth and scale didn't line up with any construction timeline they knew. And although none of them were using terms like hidden history, they were acknowledging something just as unsettling. Someone had built beneath this land before. Not simple tunnels, not primitive mine shafts, a network. As the documentation increased, so did the silence. Reports became shorter, descriptions became vague, photographs stopped showing the full extent of the passages. And then the excavation zones were hastily sealed again in late 1906 and early 1907, filled with rubble from the earthquake, covered with new construction, and much of what was exposed was returned to dark. Found.